think I was meant to be a burglar," he said placidly, "and I have no doubt I should have been if I hadn't happened to be born in that nice house next door. I can't see any harm in it, anyhow."
"How can you say such things?" she remonstrated.
"Well," said the young man, "if you're born on the wrong side of the wall, I can't see that it's wrong to climb over."
"I never know what you'll say or do next," she said.
"I don't often know myself," replied Mr. Crook, "but then I am on the right side of the wall now."
"And which is the right side of the wall?"
asked the young lady, smiling. "Whichever side you are on," said the young man named Crook. As they went together through the laurels towards the front garden, a motor horn sounded thrice, coming nearer and nearer, and a car of splendid speed, great elegance, and a pale green colour swept up to the front doors like a bird and stood throbbing. "Hello, hello," said the young man with the red tie. "Here's somebody born on the right side, anyhow. I didn't know, Miss Adams, that your Santa Claus was so modern as this."
"Oh, that's my godfather, Sir Leopold Fisher. He always comes on Boxing Day."
Then, after an innocent pause, which unconsciously betrayed some lack of enthusiasm, Ruby Adams added,
"He is very kind."
John Crook, journalist, had heard of that eminent city magnate, and it was not his fault if the city magnate had not heard of him. For in certain articles in The Clarion or The New Age, Sir Leopold had been dealt with austerely. But he said nothing and grimly watched the unloading of the motor car, which was rather a long process. A large, neat chauffeur in green got out from the front, and a small, neat manservant in grey got out from the back. And between them they deposited Sir Leopold on the doorstep, and began to unpack him like some very carefully protected parcel. Rugs enough to stock a bazaar, furs of all the beasts of the forest, and scarves of all the colours of the rainbow were unwrapped one by one, till they revealed something resembling the human form, the form of a friendly but foreign-looking old gentleman, with a grey, goat-like beard and a beaming smile, who rubbed his big fur gloves together. Long before this revelation was complete, the two big doors of the porch had opened in the middle, and Colonel Adams, father of the furry young lady, had come out himself to invite his eminent guest inside. He was a tall, sunburnt, and very silent man, who wore a red smoking cap, like a fez, making him look like one of the English sirdars or pashas in Egypt. With him was his brother-in-law, lately come from Canada, a big and rather boisterous young gentleman farmer, with a yellow beard, by name James Blount. With him also was the more insignificant figure of the priest from the neighbouring Roman church. For the Colonel's late wife had been a Catholic, and the children, as is common in such cases, had been trained to follow her. Everything seemed undistinguished about the priest, even down to his name, which was Brown. Yet the Colonel had always found something companionable about him, and frequently asked him to such family gatherings. In the large entrance hall of the house there was ample room even for Sir Leopold and the removal of his wraps. Porch and vestibule, indeed, were unduly large in proportion to the house, and formed, as it were, a big room with the front door at one end, and the bottom of the staircase at the other. In front of the large hall fire, over which hung the Colonel's sword, the process was completed, and the company, including the saturnine Crook, presented to Sir Leopold Fisher. That venerable financier, however, still seemed struggling with portions of his well-lined attire, and at length produced from a very interior tailcoat pocket a black oval case, which he radiantly explained to be his Christmas present, for his goddaughter. With an unaffected vainglory that had something disarming about it, he held out the case before them all. It flew open at a touch, and half blinded them. It was just as if a crystal fountain had spurted in their eyes. In a nest of orange velvet lay, like 3 eggs, 3 white and vivid diamonds that seemed to set the very air on fire all round them. Fisher stood beaming benevolently and drinking deep of the astonishment and ecstasy of the girl, the grim admiration and gruff thanks of the Colonel, the wonder of the whole group. "I'll put 'em back now, my dear," said Fisher, returning the case to the tails of his coat. "I had to be careful of 'em coming down. They're the 3 great African diamonds called the Flying Stars, because they've been stolen so often. All the big criminals are on the track, but even the rough..."